Hey guys, so I thought we would spend the next couple of Watercolor Wednesdays talking about paints. I've been being asked a lot about paints, and I'm constantly asked about my palettes. Now, you guys have all seen my large studio palette, which is the big round one, and it's one that I've filled with my own individual tube paints that I bought. Hang on, let me grab one. Like this. This happens to be a Quar. So watercolor will come two ways. It'll come in tubes like this, or it comes in pans or cakes like this little Winsor Newton set. I obviously have some of both in my stash. My large watercolor round palette is filled with about half and half tube, half cakes that I actually popped out of a palette like this and put them in that big round palette. I have a bunch of these little travel palettes that I get to not only travel around with me, but to, when I want to try some new paints, I'll frequently buy one of these smaller travel palettes. Not all paints are created equally, and there's a big difference between the different kinds of student grade paint and artist grade paint. Mostly it's in the pigments and how well pigmented they are or aren't. But even among student grade paints, some are better than others. I have my one I started with, which you all have seen, which is this one, which is a very inexpensive Art Alternatives watercolor set, 18 half pans. It has a lot of colors in it, so you don't necessarily need to mix too much. But when you do, you have trouble getting a good, bright, vibrant color, because these are student grade paints, and they're not that dark and they're not that vibrant for the most part. And I only have kept this one, honestly, for sentimental value. I really don't use it that much anymore. Today we're going to work with these 4 palettes. My favorite brands of palette paint like this that you buy in a palette. Of these 4 would probably be the Koi and the Van Gogh, only because I haven't tried this one yet. It's brand new, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. The Winsor Newton's okay, but my problem with it is that it didn't have enough darker colors in it. It didn't have any like Payne's Gray or neutral tints, and those are 2 things that I really am finding that I really love in my palette. So I added some, and it didn't have a violet either. So I took some of my tube paint that I have, and in the mixing wells in the top, I added Lamp Black, Payne's Gray, and Phthalo Purple, and then let it dry, and I put the swatches on the back of my color key for this. And this is the one that actually, I carry this in my handbag. The Koi set is very nice, I think, and I'm not an expert by any stretch, so, you know, surf around on YouTube and on the web and get other people's opinions. But as far as, you know, student grade paint is concerned, and we'll put this one aside right now because that one's not necessarily student grade. The Koi set's a nice set. It's very affordable. You can get it at Hobby Lobby. You can use a coupon. So that makes it really, really affordable. It's about, I think, $35 or $36 without a coupon. So even that, if you don't have one, that's still affordable. This set has a nice range of colors, because it has 24, and I'm really finding that as I'm getting back into my watercoloring, that I'm really not okay with a super small set, because even though I find I'm adding colors to it, I really need like 18 to 24 colors to be happy with the palette. I can mix colors, and we're going to do some of that today, but for me, and what I'm learning about myself as a watercolorist, is I really like to not have to mix paint all the time, or when I am mixing paint, to have lots of choices of ones to mix. So for me, I need 18 to 24 colors to be really happy. This one has 24, and it has a Payne's Gray and a black, so I didn't have to add anything. It also has a really nice olive green and a purple, and I like this set. It also came with a water brush and a nice, you know, mixing tray that you can either attach or use detached, and you can also, you still have the lid that you can mix in the lid too. Now, both of these are plastic palettes, which they're okay, and I've used for a long time, and I don't mind using them. I prefer metal or porcelain. That's something else I've learned about myself recently. But metal or porcelain sets, they're really expensive, and I have a couple, but they're really expensive. This is the one you see me use on camera a lot when I don't want to drag the big round one out. So this is a Van Gogh palette. Even in this one, I've added a couple colors. This is a Van Gogh, I think it's supposed to be an artist quality paint, but it's more like a high student grade paint / low artist grade paint. But it is, I like it. I am not, what I'm discovering about myself is I'm not super picky about my paint. I do like some nice bright colors, but I'm finding that I can make something work in almost every set that I have. I really like this one. Again, it has a good variety of colors. It has 18, plus it has a Payne's gray and a Chinese white. I did add this brown, and this brown got added because I was talking on the phone to somebody while I was filling up another palette, and I actually poured out too much, and so I thought, well, I'll just stick it in here. It's raw umber, I think. I don't remember now, but it's just a brown, red brown. And I also added some Davies gray, which is a dark gray green instead of like Payne's gray, which is a dark blue gray. And I had it in a tube. I got it on clearance, so I thought I'd add a little bit to this palette. I use this palette a lot when, like I said, when I don't want to use the large round one. It has enough colors for me to mix from and enough colors to make me happy, and I paint a lot from this one. And again, it's a plastic palette. The problem with the plastic palettes is you don't necessarily always get them clean once you do decide to clean the wells out, which I don't do a whole lot. Some of the paints stain the plastic. It also can be difficult to mix your paint on the plastic. The colors want to separate instead of mix together. This is another plastic palette. I just got this one. This is a Miscellaneous half pan palette. These are their cake watercolors. Now, I just bought this, and I wanted to try Miscellaneous paint, but I didn't want to buy a bunch of tubes. And their sets were on sale, and I almost got their really small set, which had, I think, 6 colors in it, and it was $20. And that is really not enough colors for me. It would not have made me happy, and I would have ended up, no matter how good the paint was, not liking it. So I got this larger one, which was more expensive. They were all 35% off. It came with a little brush, which a lot of them do. And I already made my color key. I haven't laminated it or anything yet. It has this little mixing tray down here that pulls out. And it has 14 colors in it. And it has a Payne's gray, and it has enough of a selection of other colors to make it work. Again, it doesn't have a violet. A lot of them don't have violet, and you know, I don't know. My favorite sets have purple in them, so I don't know. We'll have to see about that. we're gonna try it though. But I do know the colors are nice and vibrant, and I'm pretty impressed with most of them. But I have to say, you know, if you compare them to these same samples done the same way from the Van Gogh set. You know, I don't know. They're you know, they're a little different. But I think I'd be equally happy with either one. They cost about the same. Neither one of these was super cheap. Not on sale. They're, you know, I think over $100, but I got both of them on sale. So I definitely wouldn't buy these unless you had a coupon or could get them on sale, because they are pricey. Now, I have 3 metal palettes. 2 of them I bought empty. Now, these are all Schmink palettes. Schmink makes a really nice metal palette. It's like, you know, enameled metal. This is the actual Schmink palette, and I really like, this is the 48 color set. Nice bright colors, easy to work with, re-wet nicely. I think it's my 2 favorites at the moment, Daniel Smith and Schmink. they have a little bit different pigments in their line, different colors, and I use them jointly a lot, and I love them. They're fabulous. And I love the Schmincke palette. It has 2 mixing areas, this one and this one. It comes with 48 pans, but you can actually get 1 extra in each row, which make 52. And you can add 4 more colors to it. I've added ruby red, which Schmincke sent me some samples, which was fabulous. Love Schmincke. And one of the samples they sent was ruby red, so I added it here. And here's my color key. I love this set. Fabulous, fabulous set. And I did find out this morning that you can get replacement half pans pre-filled by the factory. These are called half pans, and they come a little bit bigger in a full pan. You can get these from Amazon that already filled with paint like this. They come from the factory wrapped up and already filled with paint. You can get them on Amazon or a UK store called Jackson's Art Supply. You could probably also refill them from tube paint. I do believe their pans and their tubes, the color pigments match. But yeah, no, I love this set. And then I have another, this is one of the ones I bought empty, and you can get the Schmincke metal pans empty and then buy that pans of paint and, you know, make up your own palette, or you can buy the pans empty and fill them from tubes that you already have. This is one of the ones I filled with tubes that I already had. Now this is a miscellaneous palette. This palette includes Quar, Winsor Newton, Grumbacher, 1 Schmincke color, and some Van Gogh paint. The Schmincke color that's in here is this large pan. This is a full pan, and that's because, again, they sent me this sample, and this other Schmincke set was already full, so I had no place to put it except here. And these, except for this one, which came with paint in it, the rest of these came empty. I bought them empty, and I put paint in them from the tubes that I had. Now this does come out, so you could take this out and you can use these wells underneath to also mix paint, and all of these metal pans do that. I did find, like with the other one, putting an extra pan in each row keeps the pans in there more tightly so they don't pop out and move around. And you probably could, if your paint was dry and you were, you know, taking this out and putting it in your bag and putting it in your travel palette. I might recommend putting, like, maybe if you can get it in there, a piece of bubble wrap in here to just hold everything down. Something's still moist. Some of these artist paints stay moist, and so they don't really, you know, they take a long time to dry out, or they don't ever dry out at all. It depends on what they've used. If it's got honey in it as a binder and preservative, then it stays wet almost forever and almost never dries. And some of your tube paints won't, not only won't ever dry out, but they won't re-wet well. So if you're going to fill your own palette up with paint, then you want to make sure that the paint that you choose will not only dry out completely, but re-wet well. And that one that is still wet is a Quar. It should dry out eventually, but we'll see. I probably closed it up a little too soon. I do know they re-wet well because they have their Quar paints on a sample palette, little dried up dots of them, and it re-wets fabulously. So it's probably just not been left open long enough. But some of the paints aren't like that, like Sennelier tube watercolor paint does not ever really dry out, and it may, you know, I don't know if it re-wets well. It may not re-wet well. The Daniel Smith re-wets beautifully, by the way. This is my Daniel Smith set, and again, I used the Schmincke palette to make up a Daniel Smith set like this I could take with me. Daniel Smith, as far as I know, doesn't make a set in, you know, a travel pan set, or from what I saw on their website, they don't even carry like travel pans that I saw, at least not anymore. I guess they used to. Again, I put 1 extra pan in each row so I can get 52 colors in here. So I have room to grow if I decide I want to add a color to my color range. But I have a nice variety of Daniel Smith colors here. And this is a great palette, and this one in conjunction with the schmink, the colors are a little bit different. There are some, like I have this opera pink here, which is super bright and vibrant. By the same token, I have this cobalt turquoise over here in the schmink, which is wonderful. And these are great palettes to use together to create paintings. They both have a really bright green in them. In the schmink, it's May green, and in the Daniel Smith, it's a phthalo yellow green. But these are both really great colors. I have some colors here, like Moon Glow and Kyanite and Lunar Blue, that nobody else makes except Daniel Smith. So if I was going to go somewhere for some serious painting, whether I'm taking a class or I am going on vacation, and you guys know I always take art stuff with me on vacation, I would take both of these with me, because then I have all the colors I would probably need to do whatever painting it is I would want to do. So those are the different, you know, kind of palettes like this I have, besides the giant round one. In the next video, now we're going to talk about color mixing. Color mixing our watercolors is really, in a lot of ways, no different than color mixing your acrylic paints. I get asked a lot about this. I also get asked a lot about what colors I'm using, and it's really not about the specific colors. I don't want to start making a habit of giving you guys specific colors so that you guys feel like you have to go out and buy those particular colors. If you guys are like me, which I think you all probably are, then I am definitely one that's tempted to do that. When an artist says, oh, you know, I use this color, that color, then I always think I have to go out and have that color. How do you think I end up with so much paint? So anyway, first we're going to mix up, but I do get asked a lot about what colors I'm using, especially in the 30 and 30 painting series. For the most part, I'm using the Van Gogh set, and the Van Gogh set includes yellow ochre, lemon yellow, azo yellow light, azo yellow deep, vermilion, madder lake deep, permanent red deep, quinacridone rose, burnt umber, burnt sienna, sepia, ultramarine deep, Prussian blue, cobalt blue, viridian, sap green, hooker's green, permanent green, Payne's gray, and Chinese white. That's what comes in the set. So today we're going to talk about mixing some colors. So the first one I'm going to do is purple. And we are going to talk about how to get a nice shade of purple with these sets as they are. We're going to spray these first and get them a little bit moist. Okay. So with the, this set has a purple, it came with a purple, and this one I added a purple, but we're going to pretend it doesn't have a purple. And I like my purples to be on the cool side. So I would take, in this particular Winsor Newton set, I would take the alizarin crimson, which is a cooler red, like this. And then I would mix it with the ultramarine blue, which is more of a true blue. And I also like my purples to be a little bit on the red side, so I'd pick up a little more red. That's a little blue for me. Okay, and you come up with that purple. Now, if you took the same blue and you mixed it with the other red that's in the set, which is more of an orangey red, it's a cadmium red, but it's more of an orangey red, you're going to get a purple that's more, looks actually more brown. See? It's not really purple. You can try adding more blue to it and see what happens, but still not, in my opinion, super purple. See? But in itself, it's an interesting color, and if you were doing an autumn landscape, maybe that would be a color that you would like. All right, so next, just get rid of that. That's the Winsor Newton set. So we're going to do the same thing, and let's put Winsor Newton on that. And then we're going to do Koi, and then we'll do Van Gogh. And the only way to get good at color mixing is to practice. There's no shortcut. So with this Koi set, I have more reds. I have vermilion, cadmium red, crimson lake, and quinacridone rose. Those are all really nice reds. These two are cooler reds, and these two are warmer reds. So I'm going to pick one. I'm only going to do 2 samples, but definitely if you were going to do this and you have the Koi set, I would recommend experimenting with making your purple with all 4 of them and see what you get. But we're going to just pick one of each. So I'm going to use Crimson Lake. Which is a pretty red. And this one, again, has an ultramarine blue, which is more of a true blue, but it also has cobalt blue, Prussian blue, cerulean blue. So I would recommend doing purples with all 4 of the reds, but also all 4 of the blues. But for this demonstration, we're going to just use the ultramarine blue. I'm going to add a little bit more of the red because that's a little blue for me. Okay, hey guys. All right, so here we have our purple color chart. And these first 2, like you saw, these are the Winsor & Newton. And from this little small kit that only really has 2 shades of each color, family color. You know, 2 yellows, 2 reds, 2 blues, 2 greens, yellow ochre, a brown, a couple of browns, and Chinese white. It really would be better served to have these 2 browns, or yellow ochre and burnt umber, and then Payne's gray. But anyway, we talked about that already. I like the little box though. And then when the video cut off, I was working in this one, and I don't know what happened with my camera. I think it's operator error, because you know, there's really nothing wrong with my camera, it's just me. So you saw me mixing the colors to do this one in the Koi palette, this palette. And then I did it again with a warmer red and the same blue. And these are the Koi, and they're much more pigmented than the Winsor Newton. Although I like the Winsor Newton, especially the purple, for what it is. Each one of these I get slightly different shades. So one of my problems always is that, well, you know, I like this one and I like the, I might use them in different applications, so I don't want to get rid of the paint. I know it's a problem, right? Anyway, so I used my cooler red with the ultramarine blue, and then a warmer red with the this is cadmium red with the ultramarine blue, and I think this one was Crimson Lake, and I got these 2 colors. Then I went to the Van Gogh palette, and my go-to colors for the Van Gogh palette for purple are Madder Lake Deep and ultramarine blue. That's this, and this is it with, excuse me, a little bit more blue added, which gives you a similar color to the Winsor Newton color. And this is one of my favorite purple colors. The Van Gogh palette's nice. It comes with vermilion, which is really more of an orangey color, and then Madder Lake Deep, Permanent Red Deep, and Quinacridone Rose for your reds. And then for your blues, it comes in Ultramarine Deep, Prussian Blue, and Cobalt Blue. And I really recommend with any of these, whether you're using, no matter what palette you're using, like with this one, this is the Koi palette, and it has 4 reds, vermilion again, which is a lot less orange than the Van Gogh one, although they're supposed to be the same color. Cadmium Red, Crimson Lake, and Quinacridone Rose. And then for blues, it has Cobalt Blue, which I spelled wrong, Cerulean Blue, and Ultramarine Blue, and Prussian Blue. So I would really recommend to whatever kit you have, mix all of your reds, with each one of your blues to see what kind of color you're going to get. Okay. That's the only way to see and to experiment and play. Do a 50-50 mix to see what you get, at least to start with, and do some kind of a chart. And I recommend writing, you know, next to it 50-50 and what colors you used, and then you could do, you know, 1/3, 2/3, and, you know, make a new swatch and do some kind of a chart like this. And then this up here, so on the Van Gogh palette, so I did Madder Lake and Ultramarine Blue, and then I did it again, and this had a little bit more blue and less red. And then here I did Permanent Red Deep and Ultramarine Blue. And I got a very similar color, a slightly different shade than this one. But I like that. It's a little bit, I don't know, more orchidy. I like it though. This is my favorite color of purple that I usually try to mix. And like I said, in the Van Gogh palette has 3 and 3, so I would try to mix each one of these with each one of the blues, at least in a 50-50 mix, and make a swatch and see what you get. And then in the Miscellaneous palette that I just got, and again, this is their cake. This is a cake palette. So it was pre-filled pans, not in the tubes. I think the tube paints are a little more vibrant than these are, or a lot more vibrant than these are. But this one came with French Vermilion, Alizarin Crimson, and Rose Madder Lake. And then for blues, it came with Cisneros Blue, Cobalt Blue, and Ultramarine Deep. And I took here and I mixed Alizarin Crimson and Ultramarine Blue, and this is the purple that you get. And then I gradiated it out here. I put all the pigment here and then just spread it out with some water, and this is what you get. This is completely dry. And then this is using the same colors, and then while this is wet, you can just drop in another color over here that you know is going to blend well with the purple, like in this case some more ultramarine, and they blend into each other and you can get some interesting effects. So I recommend that you all play and mix your colors, and if you have the budget for it to buy a couple different kinds of paint and play, do that and do some comparisons and see what you like. Now, of all of these palettes, including the Winsor Newton little one, where is it? These palettes here that came pre-filled, not ones that I filled myself. These are the pre-filled palettes. I like them all for different reasons, but probably if you said just pick one and let's go, I would probably pick this one. It's a good basic palette. It's a nice, I like the case. It would be a fight between these two. Now, I just got this one. I haven't really used it, so it's not necessarily a fair comparison. I do like this, or I wouldn't have bought it. But this is a really great palette for the money, this Koi palette. And if you can only afford one and you want to get a decent set of student grade watercolors, I'd tell you to probably get this one. It's, decently pigmented. It has a good selection of colors. I like the case setup. It's not too big. This is a really good one to start with. You could eventually, when you use these up, or if you decide you don't like a color, pop them out and refill it with tube watercolors. It's a really nice case. I do wish that this part that holds the paints was a little thicker plastic. It's a little bit on the thin side. So I have to say that probably one of the reasons why I say that I would pick this one over that one is because this one actually has actual half pans in it, as does this Miscellaneous one. They have little plastic pans, and I can actually, let's see, I can pop one out for you. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. There we go. So both of these palettes have little plastic pans with your paint in them, just like a professional artist grade paint does. Because these are considered artist grade paints, but I know the Van Gogh is kind of low on the rung, but it is an artist grade paint, as is the Sennelier, even though this is the cake one and not the tubes, is still an artist grade paint. And the nice thing they have is they come, even their plastic palettes come with these little plastic pans, which you can pop out, you can change around, you can get empty ones and fill the empty ones with your preferred colors from tubes. And their palettes themselves, even though they're plastic, are a little more sturdy than these. So, you know, I like, and of course this is nice and big, so I like that. So anyway, I'm gonna sneeze. So anyway, now this won't close. So I think that it's worth it if you can afford it and it's in your budget to spend a little more money and wait for a sale or a coupon and get one of these better palettes of paint. But if that's never going to be in your budget, and you know that's never going to be in your budget, then I would definitely think that it would be worth it to get the Koi palette. It will hold up decently well, especially if you don't do too much with trying to get these little cakes out, because this here is really thin, but it's got a decent amount of paints in it, and the colors it comes with are decently pigmented. So it's a good starter palette, and you could just, you know, leave it as is in the box, and when you use up all of one color, just refill it with a little tube of a similar color from another brand. All right, I hope that gave you enough information, and if you want to see more color mixing in watercolor, let me know. Put something in the comments below, and we will do more color mixing. Maybe next time we'll do flesh tones in watercolor. All right, everybody go out and have a great week, have a great day, and do something nice for yourself because you deserve it, and I'll see you later.